Welcome into the vault. My name is Sarah Ellison, and my usual co-host and business partner, Bobby Trossett, is out. He's in Sweden. Now, speaking of Bobby, some of you may have been live streaming with me earlier this afternoon at our normal lunch day live stream. Bobby came in from DC, giving us how he's stuck in DC, trying to get a passport, all that fiasco. It's kind of hilarious and sad both at the same time. I do have an update. He did get his passport, and now he's back on his way to the airport. Now, when Bobby left the show, after he crashed in and gave us a hilarious update from inside the men's bathroom, mind you, which made me very uncomfortable, but it was handled well. Anyway, if you want all those updates, you can go watch the end of that live stream. But when he was leaving and letting me get back to the content, he accidentally ended the stream. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just record this one, put it up, and we will get through the rest of this content because it is important. Okay, now, I had just gone through in the live stream, gone through some of the updates from the coordinators' pressers that started at 11 a.m. on Tuesday morning. What I had planned to do was also follow up on some of the things that John Harbaugh had said in his Monday afternoon press conference, because we hadn't gotten to that before. That came on after our live stream on Monday. So I wanted to touch on and give some thoughts on some of the things that John Harbaugh said Monday afternoon. And that begins with one wide receiver who is just a mystery to us all right now in Diontae Johnson. Now, as we know, Diontae Johnson was traded to the Ravens at the end of October, at October 29th to be exact, from the Panthers. And everybody thought, whoa, that was not what we expected. The Ravens should have been out looking for a pass rusher, yada, yada, yada. And so it was unexpected, but it was like, all right, but it's nice to have it. They've been needing some insurance in case of injury, all that kind of stuff. He wasn't getting a lot of snaps. Then what do you know? Rashod Bateman goes down. That should be the time. That should be the time to enter in wide receiver Diontae Johnson, except he got 0 snaps. And so Sunday after the game, the reporters obviously asked about it. John Harbaugh said Sunday, you know what? I don't have all the information right now, but I will, and I'll give you an answer soon. So we all assumed, okay, he'll be ready Monday morning. But then Monday morning came around, and here he was again.
Let's see where we're at. Right. At this time, I'm going to have to wait. Just to clarify, there's some moving parts there that we're going to have to figure out and explore and just see where we're at. I know it's not the answer you want, but it's the best I can do in fairness to everybody right now.
Are you expecting to continue to be on the team after the bye?
I think, like I said, we'll just work it out, see where we're at over the next few days and this week.
All right. A little bit cryptic, a little bit vague, but in my view, I think the way the questions were phrased, it kind of put Harbaugh in a situation where he may have accidentally broke the news. If you read between the tea leaves, and in my mind, he was forced into revealing that Diontae Johnson probably isn't going to be a part of this team after the bye. Let's dig into some of this soundbite that you just heard. He said there's some moving parts there that we're going to have to figure out. So that's why he can't announce yet what is happening with Diontae Johnson. So there's some moving parts. Then he says, out of fairness to everybody, I just can't go into it right now. Okay. But then it was this follow-up question, the follow-up question that really forced his hand. Luke Jones asked, well, do you expect him to be a part of the team after the bye? John Harbaugh says, well, like I said, we'll just work it out and see where we're at over the next few days. Let me tell you something. If a coach doesn't just straight up say, yeah, of course he's a part of the team, there's a good chance he's not going to be a part of the team. Because whatever those moving parts are, they could be going around, but he would want to make his player feel like he's a part of the team, make his player feel like he's not sending a message, making his player feel like, yeah, of course you're still part of the team, if he was going to be part of the team. So based off the way the questions were asked, well done, Luke Jones. I think you kind of forced his hand. He accidentally basically revealed that Diontae Johnson won't be a part of the team, which means that he would be cut. That's my take. I feel like I'm on pretty solid ground in making that conclusion. If I'm wrong, I'll be the first to admit later if he's out there after the bye. Now, the question then becomes, why? Like, what is up with this? Because as Tom Pelissero pointed out after this quote yesterday from NFL Network, he says, well, quite a contract year for Diontae Johnson. Let's not forget, this is a massive year for him. It's a contract year for him. On March 12th, the Steelers traded him to the Panthers. And at the Panthers, he caught 30 passes in 7 games. I think he was almost at 400 yards. Not bad. I think he was leading the Panthers at the time, especially when they were having quarterback issues. It's pretty solid numbers. So he comes to the Baltimore on October 29th when the Panthers traded him. And since then, he's had 1 pass in 4 games. And then on December 1st against the Eagles, he had 0 snaps. So you can see to the right his snap count for each week that he's been here. And it's not going up, which is the way you would anticipate it to go when somebody comes in mid-season. He goes from 16 to 5 to 10 to 5 to 0 when Rashod Bateman went down against the Eagles. And we know he can play. He put up 1,200 yards in a Pro Bowl year in 2021. It's not that long ago. It's not like he's like 30 years old now. After that, he put up another almost 900 with the Steelers, then 700 with the Steelers. And then, like we said, about 357 in 7 games with the Carolina Panthers when they were having quarterback issues and moving quarterbacks back and forth, who's starting, who's benched, all that just kept going back and forth. And now it's Bryce Young. Just kind of picking things up. So then you come to Baltimore, you get 1 catch for 6 yards. So many people have been asking, well, are the Ravens getting rid of Diontae? Because we know about the reports and the rumors of what's happened to him in past organizations. He got in fights with teammates in Pittsburgh. There always seemed to be something going on. Then with the Panthers, he spoke his mind, saying he's like, I can't do other people's jobs, kind of questioned a lot of things by his team and coaches and teammates. So it's like, is there something going on behind the scenes? Is he ticked off? Maybe. But all I can comment on is what I see. And in his locker room session so far this season, he has said all the right things. Check this out.
They working me in there slowly, but I just go out there, whenever they call my number, going to do my thing, like I said, I can't go in there just expecting a lot, that's putting a lot of pressure on myself, however the game goes, I'm all for it.
Is it weird being on the other side? Where do you see yourself fitting into this wide receiver group in this offense?
Just out of respect for everybody else, just wherever they need me to be at right now, until I learn everything, until they feel comfortable with me playing something else, then that'll be my focus. But right now, I'm just trying to get acclimated and work with what they give me right now. So, but once I found out where I was going, I was excited. Just a lot of stuff I get to just sigh of relief. So I'm ready to work.
All right. So again, he's saying all the right things. By the way, if you can hear noise in the background, we've got construction workers out in the street here. So some noise coming in. If you can hear that, hopefully the mic is doing its job and blocking most of it out. But he's saying the right things. He's like, hey, I'm just trying to fit in, trying to be respectful to everybody, like doing all the right things. Now that was obviously earlier when he was traded. Maybe things have changed. So is it that he's being uncoachable, all that? I don't think it'd be fair to just say, oh, that's got to be it when we don't know. This is a man's reputation. He may be trying to turn things around from, the reputation he's had in the past. Maybe he was trying to use this as a fresh start. So, is it crazy to think that maybe that's going on? No, but I also don't want to leap to that conclusion. To me, I'm with Drew Forster here. He says, unless I'm reading the tea leaves wrong, it would appear that Diontae Johnson has asked the Ravens to release him. Not sure if it's more complicated than that. If the guy doesn't want to be in Baltimore, cut him loose. I assume we'll hear something later this week. Then I've seen a lot of Steelers fans kind of celebrating because I know that the Steelers were kind of questioned, like, why would you let him go? He was a great 1-2 punch with George Pickens and, definitely their number 2 receiver and put up number 1 numbers during his Pro Bowl year. And so they're celebrating, saying Diontae Johnson thought he was going to find greener grass outside of Pittsburgh and failed big time. So, I'm not going to celebrate, that he hasn't had the best year. But it would make sense to me if I'm Diontae Johnson, it would make sense to me in a contract year to ask to be released, because you're trying to prove yourself. You thought you'd come to a Super Bowl, contending team, and the Ravens can still do that, although things don't feel so great in Baltimore after that Eagles loss. And you're just getting no looks. Now, I had those expectations early on. I was just like, I don't know. To me, he was an insurance policy that I've been wanting the Ravens to have ever since they re-signed Rashod Bateman. Like, you needed to have something beyond Bateman and Flowers. So I was happy about the trade because it was basically free. And I liked having that insurance, but I certainly didn't think he was going to be getting a ton of snaps. So I don't know what was said to him, what his expectations were, but you got Zay Flowers, Rashod Bateman, Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, Justice Hill, Derrick Henry. Keaton Mitchell's trying to get back into it. There's a lot of mouths to feed. So he was never going to be able to get a lot, but Sunday would have been his opportunity when Bateman went down and he wasn't out there. So my first guess is that he has to be released. My second guess is they couldn't play him because they knew they were going to release him. Otherwise, why wouldn't you just put him in when Bateman went down? Nelly was dropping things. We saw Nelly dropping some nice in the bucket passes from Lamar Jackson when Lamar was off for quite a few throws, and then he throws a beauty and you drop it. It would have been hard, but he should have had it. And so that would have been his opportunity. So my guess is that he's asked to be released. There's at ML Football, somebody is kind of like one of those aggregator Twitter accounts, and also give some opinion. And they have the same thought. It sounds like Diontae Johnson is requested to be released by the team. And then he called this idea that they're going to be cutting him, or that they could be cutting him. They call it an Eric disaster, meaning they meant to write epic disaster. Okay. Now, I don't know who they're saying it's an epic disaster for. It's not an epic disaster for the Ravens. The Ravens swapped a 5th round pick for a 6th round pick to get Diontae. And remember, the Ravens likely will be drafting at the back of the 5th, and the Panthers will likely be drafting at the top of the 6th. So at best, the Ravens gave what is equivalent to a 7th rounder. And I mean a late 7th rounder, and that is being generous. The Ravens went back maybe 15-ish spots in the 5th to 6th round to get him. To me, they basically got him for a packet of magic beans. Okay. So from the Ravens position, no, it's not an epic disaster. They have plenty of mouths to feed as it is. It would be nice to have that insurance. And it would also be nice to have the comp pick when he goes and signs as a free agent. So if he doesn't want to be released and he is not being a headache in the locker room, I would love it for the Ravens to keep him. I want the insurance. I want the comp pick. But if he wants out, fine, let him out. So to me, the way you would term it for the Ravens is that the trade was pointless. You only had to pick up $625,000 of his contract, of his salary. The Panthers ate $3.26 million of it. Again, the Ravens didn't have to give up. He was practically free. So if it is an epic disaster for anybody, it's an epic disaster for Diontae, and I feel bad saying that. I feel bad for him in a contract year because I want all these players to be able to go out and make generational money. But it's a contract year. Sounded like he wanted out of Pittsburgh, and then it sounded like he asked for a change of scenery when he was with the Panthers. And now my guess is that he's asking for it again. Maybe he'll get picked up by the Chiefs. Maybe he get picked back up by the Steelers. I don't know. Mike Tomlin didn't seem. Remember before the Ravens played the Steelers, he's like, I haven't even thought about Diontae. I don't know that they would want him back in there. Who knows? But to me, the ideal scenario, keep him, insurance, get the comp pick, and keep him away from your potential playoff opponents. But if he wants out, let him out. Or if he's being, tough behind the scenes, not a great locker room guy. Again, we do not know that. But if he is, I get it. And in the end, I think he will be cut. So to me, the trade in the end will be pointless, more disastrous for him, unless he's able to catch on elsewhere and show that what he can do so that he can get a big contract in the offseason. Meanwhile, John Harbaugh was asked about Justin Tucker on Monday yet again. And that is the storyline. It is the storyline. There are other storylines, but this one tops them all. The GOAT coming into the season with the best field goal percentage in the history of the NFL now leads the NFL this season with the most missed kicks, 8 field goals, 2 extra points. John Harbaugh said it's not a, quote, one fix thing with Tucker. And he noted that Tucker's kicking really well in practice and in the pregame. And that's partially why the Ravens still have so much confidence in him. They're seeing him do it still. Harbaugh met with Justin Tucker on Monday morning, and Tucker was like, listen, I know what I need to do. I just need to do it. And that to me is why I think it's a mental thing right now. I think he's got the yips right now. Can he battle out of it? Man, get that guy in a church singing opera again. Get him back to his roots. Get him acting, he likes to rap. Get him in his roots. Let him have this bye week. Get his head right. Get his body right. All of it. In the meantime, yesterday's live stream, I said that I would like to see the Ravens bring in another kicker. I do not want to cut Justin Tucker. You don't go throw a GOAT to the side. He could easily get right back where he was, and you don't want to see it with another team. But while they're struggling through this, the Ravens need to do right by their other players and give themselves options. If the other options aren't any better, fine. But at least you turned every stone and gave yourself options. And that's why I was happy to hear this from John Harbaugh after Jeff Zrebiec posed a certain question.
You've mentioned your approach with Justin, that you believe it's wise to stick with him. Do you believe there's any merits to bringing in another kicker, at least to have him on the practice squad, maybe to work out guys, and because you guys haven't had to look at kickers in a long time?
Right. Yeah. I don't think there'd be anything wrong with that. I wouldn't want it to be a message or anything like that, other than the fact that you want to turn over every stone and make sure you've seen all the guys at every position. If there were guys out there that Randy looked at and our scouts looked at and said that was something that we should do, we would do it. But I don't think that's the answer. Knowing, from what I've talked to Randy and the scouts, knowing who's out there right now. It's not to say there aren't guys capable, but there's nobody nearly as good as Justin Tucker.
I was happy, very happy to hear that answer. He's still confident in him. Good. But he's willing to bring in another kicker on the practice squad. I would like to see that happen. I would like to see that news sometime this week so that new kicker can come in when the team comes back on Monday from the bye and gets ready to prepare for the Giants. And I'm with John. He's not trying to send a message to Tucker. This isn't a threatening thing. Fine. Like in the case of Marcus Williams, you already knew when Marcus Williams wasn't performing, you already knew what you had in-house. You could see Ardarius Washington every day. You could see the work he was putting in. You know what you have there. And so you could be confident about that move and benching him. But until you have an alternative that you know is going to work, keep encouraging Tucker. Both things need to happen at the same time. Give yourself options while encouraging Tucker. Make him believe he's got this. He's got to believe it. I hope he believes it. I want him to believe it. But you got to do right for the rest of your team. You cannot have another Billy Cundiff moment. So bring in some guys, work them out. Like it seems to me that it's going to be hard to find somebody better. And you know what? Bill Belichick, he agrees with what John Harbaugh is doing.
In Baltimore.
Probably about the way that Coach Harbaugh is handling it. When I
said the question was, how would you do it if you were in Baltimore? And he said about the way John Harbaugh is handling it.
When I look at Tucker, I don't see a lack of talent. He still has great height on the ball. The ball, travels with plenty of distance. Clearly, there's some fundamental technique thing that he's not doing consistently, and that's caused him to miss both to the left and to the right. So I think, what I would do is keep working on the fundamentals and the technique of the kick. I don't think there's a lack of talent. I think it's fundamentally there's just something that's not quite right here. And I'm sure that Justin and Coach Harbaugh and the whole operation, the holder, the snapper, are all trying to get this down. I think he's definitely capable of doing it, but like you said, there's nobody else out there that has more experience or has mentally been in more situations than Tucker has. I think I would go with Tucker.
All right, so one of the greatest to ever do it in the coaching arena. He's right there with John Harbaugh. I was very happy to hear that answer from John. It's exactly what I proposed on Monday. Bring in a kicker, practice squad. I'm glad he said he's open to it, but I want to see it happen as the next move. Now, the next question and answer I wasn't too happy about. In addition to proposing that the Ravens bring in a kicker, I also proposed that they make some personnel changes across the offensive line. That doesn't look to be happening anytime soon.
Pretty well set there. I think those guys could come in. The other guys that are working hard could come in and help us. But I'm not down on anybody in the offensive line. That's a really good front we played against. I think we could have played better, especially in pass protection. Those guys would tell you that it could have been better, even in the run blocking sometimes, for sure. But I don't think it merits any drastic changes right now, other than the fact that Josh goes in there sometimes in the extra O-line. He could have a chance. Ben, I think he goes in there extra O-line. I think he'd play well if he went in there. But I like the way the offensive line has played over the last number of weeks.
He says, I think we're pretty well set there. Remember this yesterday? I played this yesterday. Look at Fa'alele. Not even close to making that block. McCary whiffs on his block. The guy he whiffed on brings down Derrick Henry. Oh, let's watch another Fa'alele one. He's supposed to pull. Does absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Can't find work. Put your shoulder down and find somebody to hit. I mean, he's just too big. He's just too big for a block like that. An athletic linebacker is going to beat him. So, I mean, Harbaugh acknowledged that they didn't play well, but he's like, but that's really good defensive front. Yeah, we know. And those defensive fronts are what it's going to be in the playoffs. There's no way Ben Cleveland is worse than this. And I just feel like the energy he's had for Marcus Williams, the willingness to look at other alternatives for Justin Tucker. And I mean, he's trying to be like, say he's got an open mind by being like, like those other guys can come in when we're going heavy, when bringing in, extra 6 offensive linemen. That is not what we're asking. Bring in Fa'alele when you want to bring in the 6th offensive lineman. Give Ben Cleveland a chance. And even on the left side, we know McCary gave up 9 pressures. 9 pressures. This is probably the decision from the beginning of the year until now that I just don't understand it. But I'm also not being paid the big bucks, and I'm also not seeing everything inside. But if it were up to me, I would change out those 2 guys with other guys that are in there and can handle it. So that's where we're at there. He also was asked about Marcus Williams. As we know, Marcus Williams was deactivated against the Eagles. We already knew he was benched. Well, now he was deactivated. John Harbaugh was asked if there's a way forward for Marcus Williams. And he said that there absolutely is, because he still sees Marcus Williams as the number 3 safety. He said he'll, quote, he'll be ready to play. He and I had a great conversation this week, close quote. So why was he deactivated? Because of special teams. He felt like the 2 young safeties in Sanusi Kane and how am I forgetting the Terp's name? But I am. It's escaping me right now. But he wanted to go with the 2 young safeties on special teams. Marcus Williams doesn't play special teams. Frankly, as long as there's no injuries, I'm not too worried about it. Like, Ardarius Washington has completely come in and done everything asked of him. His ceiling is not the highest, but man, is that dude a workhorse, and he's not letting a single communication breakdown happen. He's where he's supposed to be. He's shorter than me. He's 5'8". Do you see him tackle Goddard in the open field on Sunday? Love Ardarius Washington. I'm glad for him that he's finally healthy and is able to show that he's capable of being a starter. John Harbaugh gave some injury updates that I'll run through real quick. Rashod Bateman, remember, he left the game, did not come back. John Harbaugh said that he was sore, and he came in, he had treatment Monday morning. He said it's not a long-term thing. He thinks the bye week is really going to help him. He said a lot of guys are dealing with the types of things that Rashod Bateman's dealing with. So knee soreness doesn't sound like there's any tears, structural damage, anything like that. Keaton Mitchell, he was deactivated. What was going on there? Well, John Harbaugh explained, quote, no one expected physical challenges, but there are definitely physical challenges. Speaking of him coming back from this knee-ending injury from last year. He said it was a very serious knee injury, and he came back about as quick as you possibly could from it. I also wanted to give Rasheen Ali a chance, and you saw it on the kick return. He did have a good kick return on that 40. I believe he got it back to the 40. And you saw how explosive he looked, Harbaugh said. So it made sense to give Keaton the rest and give Rasheen a chance. They'll both be in the mix going forward. So Jeff Zrebiec was asked about it. Like, was there a setback, anything like that? Jeff said no. He said it's just, is there a hitch there? Sure. Is he 100%? No. But why not give him some rest and let him keep coming back? Remember how long it took J.K. Dobbins. I mean, it took a minute. So let these guys have some rest. But I'm right there with you. I sure want to see that speed, especially in offense. He really hasn't had much there. I think 4 snaps on offense. Arthur Maulet, he went back on IR again. Rough year for him. That calf knee. Harbaugh says it remains to be seen if he can come off of IR again. Sanusi Kane said who has a hamstring. It's not a major hamstring, Harbaugh says, so he'll be working through that, and we'll see how he is for the next game. So those are your injury updates. Sounds like most everybody's good. You didn't talk about Kyle Van Noy. I assume you could be wrong. I could be wrong. I assume he'll be back. Ravens decently healthy, given how far we are on December 3rd, which is all you can ask for. There was a follow-up on Keaton Mitchell. Odafe Owe, remember, he was limited in snaps. I think he's like somewhere in the teens, and Tavius Robinson had a lot more. John Harbaugh said that was a result of they wanted Tavius in for the run game, and he did. He played really, really well against the run. Odafe has also played well. So these are the type of problems I like to see. And then they had Harrison on the other side with Van Noy out. Would like to see more sacks, obviously, all that, but I like that, Tavius and Odafe both good enough to be able to get most of those snaps. If you missed it, I mentioned that Lamar Jackson is he has the top vote getter in the Pro Bowl after 1 week of voting. And then other Ravens that are leading in votes for the Pro Bowl at their position. In addition to Lamar, it's Derek at running back, Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey, and Kyle Hamilton. Last night, you may have noticed, or you may have watched the Browns against the Broncos. Jameis Winston went off in more ways than one. He was great. You get the good and the bad. He threw for almost 500 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, but he also threw 2 pick sixes. The Browns, the AFC North rival, with about just under 2 minutes. They were only down 32-34. Jameis had the chance to put together a game-winning drive and instead threw a pick six. Oof, that's rough. So this is where we stand with the current playoff picture. If the playoffs started today, the Ravens would be the 6th seed, and they would begin in the wild card round at where else? The Pittsburgh Steelers. Nick Sirianni, after the game, or on Monday, was asked about how the Eagles, how were you able to match Baltimore's physical play? He gave, I thought, a pretty decent answer. It's the opponent, but he gave the right answer. He's like, wait a minute, they had to match our physicality. I'd like that message rephrased a little bit. I will say the Eagles were more physical than the Ravens, especially in that fourth quarter. I go back to that later. Hard Knocks, as a reminder, Hard Knocks, the first episode inside the AFC North, airs tonight, Tuesday at 9 p.m. I will be watching it, and I will get all the highlights for you. I'll have it for you tomorrow at the lunch day noon live stream. Lamar Jackson, we talked about before how much pressure he was under. He was under pressure 60% of his dropbacks. Look at this. And how their defensive line got after him. Milt Williams had 9 pressures. Jalen Carter, 8 pressures. That dude is a beast. And then Josh Sweat had 7 turnovers. If you missed it last week, the Commanders had cut first-round cornerback Emmanuel Forbes. I was kind of hoping the Ravens could have a shot at him, but they never got that shot because the Rams claimed him off of waivers, and they have a better waiver situation than the Ravens, which makes sense. Oh, and by the way, back to this idea of the Hard Knocks going on tonight. Ask Todd Monken how he feels about it.
Forgot about it till you brought it up, so that sucks. You brought that up. I think it's a major distraction, so I don't deal with it. So I know it's not what they want to hear, but it's hard enough to focus and get ready and then worry about. I just have to worry about this once a week. I don't want to worry about it every day of what I say, how I say it, how it's perceived, whatever it is. It's hard enough to win in the NFL.
I think it's safe to say Todd Monken does not like the cameras inside the Ravens facility. I forgot about it until you just brought it up. So that sucks that you did that. And listen, I totally get it. If I were a coach, I'd be the same way. Like, every single thing on camera. All I want to do is put together a game plan and coach my guys and try to go win. Now I got to worry about this. I hear you, coach, but as an outsider, or those that are outside, we're loving it. We're loving it. So we appreciate you. I was going to say we appreciate you doing it, but you really had no choice. We appreciate you anyway. And finally, Willie Taggart, who is the Ravens running backs coach, he was at podium earlier Tuesday at 11 a.m. And he said he was talking about how Derrick Henry just hates making mistakes. And he says, I got a text last night saying, Coach, I'm still ticked off about this game. You know what I say about that? Good. We need a bunch of ticked off Ravens. We saw how ticked off Lamar was after the game. Derrick Henry's ticked off too. You're ticked off. I'm ticked off. And the Giants are going to have to pay. Giants are going to have to pay. The Ravens also need to get revenge because they're one of now only 2 teams that have beat out of the NFC that has beaten Lamar Jackson. I didn't get a chance to thank our patrons during the live stream because it got cut off. But I do want to thank Major Offense and Devin Conway for supporting this channel. Appreciate you and all that you do and believing in us, helping us make this thing happen each and every single day. Now, I will be back tomorrow. I got so much to get through tomorrow. We're going to have to go through the highlights of Hard Knocks. We're going to have to go through the rest of the coordinators and what they said, and not just the coordinators, the assistant coaches and all that. Earlier today, I just went through Todd Monken and T. Martin. Good stuff on Lamar Jackson and him finding his voice and putting his foot down, which I love to hear. But yeah, it's a random Tuesday during the bye week. That doesn't matter. We keep going around here. Plenty to cover. Lots of passion still. So glad the Ravens are ticked off. We're all ticked off about that game. Let's keep it moving forward. So, thank you for joining me again. Apologize to those that got cut off from the live stream. But at least we got that update from Bobby. Hopefully he makes it to Sweden within the next 24 hours so he can enjoy his trip. But until tomorrow on Wednesday, noonday, I will see you then here inside the vault. And until then, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Talk to you soon.